It's another edition of the CEO's Chair. You're welcome to this program. My name is Winifred Ampia. Today, my guest is the Chief Executive Officer of Posky Stationery and Supplies. She's also the Managing Director of Dorothy Enterprise. Her expertise in management and marketing compliance position her to offer the best practice in sales, marketing, and administration. She was recognized as one of the most influential women in Ghana on the International Women's Day this year, that's 2018. She was also part of the 25 women honored at the 2016 second edition of the Femini Ghana Achievement Awards held at Golden Tulip in Accra. She also won the Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation of the Young Professional Role Model Award in 2017. She is also a Christian and passionate about entrepreneurship and people. She has a desire as an individual is to see people grow, flourish in various endeavors. She has developed an interest in entrepreneurship at the age of 21 when she was at a third year at the university. She has been on various platforms locally and internationally speaking on career development. She has participated in several programs such as the Global Shapers Accra Hub, business clinics on startups, International Women's Day Conference, and as a volunteer for the T-Bridges project and the Erasmus program of the European Union. She is the 2018 president-elect for JCI Dansuman. She is also the Vice President of the U.S. Embassy Gladiators Toastmasters Club, and she is a member of the North American Women Association. In addition to the above, she is also a member of Ghana Chamber of Youth Entrepreneurs. She holds Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration from Ashesi University and is a champion for women in economics. She loves to spend time with children, listening to music, tourism, and cooking. My guest for today is Joyce Boadi Okyere. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Posky Stationery and Supply. In addition to that, she is the Managing Director of Dorothy Enterprise. You're welcome to the CEO's Chair.
Thank you, Madam.
Let's talk about the sector which you find yourself. Merchandising. How would you assess this particular sector?
I would say currently this sector is one sector everyone is eyeing because now almost everyone is going to trading, and not just trading, but things that is needed in their home and offices. This is why I find most people trading as compared to before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if the sector is attractive enough, then it must also come with some challenges. And could you share with us some of the major challenges confronting industry players in this particular sector?
Currently, what I would say is most people are entering into this industry, and I would say with the new understanding of having online market, some people don't even have much more information on what the products are and also how best they could do the pricing. So some decide to just quote a price online and people patronize. So how it's affecting some of us who run shops is that we have to pay utilities, we have workers to pay and all that. So that's one major challenge we are having in terms of price. The second one is most people also put our products on the social media and they don't actually help the consumers or maybe the clients get to know much more about the product. So they put it out there, maybe product A, this is what it is, this is the price. But in terms of maybe how long maybe warranty is going to last and other issues, they don't let people know, have much more information on that. So for instance, if somebody comes to me and I say, okay, this is the product price, this is what it does, he or she tries to tell me that I found this online and they are saying this. So it looks like every time you have to keep explaining to people what the product does. In terms of warranty, some people even don't know what warranty covers because some feel if the product doesn't work, you have to change it for me. But there are certain terms and conditions that also comes with some certain products we deal in. So I'll say it's good. It's good people are actually appreciating and also recognizing this sector. But I believe people have to have more information on the sector they are in, because trading is not as easy as it looks.
That's for a fact. I do share with you your concerns, but it looks like technology itself, it's taking center stage in this particular sector. Yeah. Would you say that it's crippling to a larger extent, it's crippling those who have the brick and mortar edifice where they do business?
Yeah, I would say yes. Some people don't even have their business registered at the Registrar General's Department. They create, for instance, a Facebook page, get some pictures on there and start marketing.
Okay.
But for us who have these shops, we have to pay taxes. It's easy for maybe a customer to trace where you are, just in case the product doesn't work. So I'll say these are some of the challenges we face, because if you put up a product online, you don't have to pay anything. What you have to pay for maybe is the product and maybe delivery cost of you getting the product to the customer. But in terms of us, we have to pay the taxes, we have to file our returns and all that. So in terms of paying taxes, that's one area.
Okay.
Secondly is others finding where you are located. Some people have had instances whereby someone delivered a product to them and the product wasn't working. But how do they locate this person? Because this person is only found on a platform, and tomorrow he or she decides to close that page, that ends it. So I would say that it's very good. I mean, we have to follow the trend, having these online shops and all that. But there's more to just having maybe an online shop than just maybe running a shop, because there are two ways. Secondly, it's good to sometimes have an interaction with the person you are dealing with. You can't just say, I've sent the delivery guy to maybe deliver this product to the person. But customer relations is also key. How best do you relate to the customer in terms of maybe the customer is finding a challenge with the product? Do you call to check up, or it's just that I've sold this product to this person, I'm done with, so that is a no? It's always good to have a follow-up, because it's possible the customer or clients might also need another product in which you're dealing. So how do you keep the relationship? So I would just say that we shouldn't only focus on, I have this product online, I'm just supplying, that is it. No, there should be a continuity, and that is how best are you relating to your customer or your client.
So it means that as a state, we're losing quite a number of revenue that we're supposed to generate if we had the brick and mortar kind of edifice. But most people would argue from the other side as well. It's quite expensive having a physical shop, and it comes with costs. You made mention of you pay rent, you pay utilities and all that. And for a young entrepreneur, that would be too much to do in terms of starting a business.
Sure.
In that case, just to ensure that there's sanity in the industry, what do you think regulators can do, especially let's say the GRA, for instance, to ensure that these individuals are paying taxes? Because to a larger extent, I want to believe that sometimes their prices might be far lower because you would factor other expenses into your product. So competition-wise, you might not be looking, you might not seem to be too attractive to the customer. What do you think regulators in that sense can do to ensure that, well, you're having some form of fair playing ground?
Okay, so what I think, or what I would suggest is, everyone who has a social media page should get registered with the Ghana Revenue and also get registered with the Registrar General's Department. I believe there's a platform whereby we can regulate the taxes. We can regulate what actually goes on social media. We can't do away with social media, but I believe we can get these regulations going through, whereby if you have a social media platform or you have any online shop, you have it registered, whereby you can also show to your customer, your client, this is my registration certificate. Because in the long run, we are not just looking for money, but we are also helping grow the economy. And in the long term, it also helps you, because there are times where you have to file for tender. How do you file for tender when you don't have the required documents? So people shouldn't just look at, I'm selling this, I'm making this, this is it. But they should look at the long term, because now the trends are changing. And right now that we have this social media platform, you never know what is next. We should also look at the future. What is the future holding? What if the government brings a policy saying that anyone who is on social media and isn't registered isn't viable to do business? So no one should do that. If you have found the law will meet up with you, what do you do next? So we should start thinking of these structures, because you never know what the government is also planning, because everyone is now aware there are social media platforms.
Exactly.
You never know the policies that are going to be run. So get yourself prepared. Don't wait till the law catches up with you.
So that's an advice to businesses who are running just the online one. Try as much as possible. Don't think that it's easier for you to just make revenue, but sometimes you end up paying more for not doing the right thing. Yeah. Let's come back to your sector once again. Yeah. And this is a sector dominated by, in recent times, we've been told that it's been taken over gradually by foreigners. And we've heard associations talking about the fact that they're losing revenue and they're losing their capital as a result of this takeover, gradual takeover by foreigners. Yeah. To what extent, first of all, is it really true? Is that really the case currently?
Yes, I would say yes. And it depends on the sector you find yourself in. But in the sector I find myself in, yes, that's what I'm facing now. And I wouldn't say that the foreigners are collapsing our business totally. They're also creating avenues for us to also expand, because imagine maybe you have to import a certain product. Sometimes you have to import one product, maybe 500 pieces or maybe 1,000 pieces before you get it down here. But they have also created an avenue whereby you can actually buy the quantity you want at a particular point in time. But what I would say is a challenge is maybe how they determine prices and also how they advertise, because I have been found wanted in that area whereby I stocked a certain product line. And because I had it in stock, I didn't know they were going to have maybe promotion on those items. So the price at which I bought it was a bit quite high. And when they ran their promotions, others had to fall on that side because my price was a bit high. So that would say, that was what I would say is one of the challenges I have faced personally. Yeah.
There's also this issue with this particular sector where the same issue where we have foreigners taking over. And recent times we've been told that GIPC intends to review the act regards to retail trading and also the minimum capital required for foreigners to be able to do business in the country. And to a large extent, I'm sure you will be excited with this particular policy. Do you think that it's a matter of implementation, not just reviewing it? Because if you take a look at what we had previously, according to the GIPC law, the retail sector is meant for solely Ghanaians. And we see foreigners doing retail activities. And for some time now, little action has been taken. And there's a time for us to review. Is it a matter of reviewing our policies, or is it a matter of implementing them?
I believe it's a matter of implementing. And what I've also realized is most of our locals have this alliance with these foreigners. So for instance, maybe I want to have a certain product line and I can't afford. And this foreigner has this accessibility or have all the resources to help me start. What we do is form partnership to run the business. And you know, our own locals, sometimes people prefer to deal with foreigners instead of dealing with the locals. So I believe the implementation will help, but most have to do with education. People have to understand the sector they are in and understand what comes with it, because imagine it's implemented and people don't even understand why I should buy from a local. We are still going to come back to where we started from. So I believe education is key alongside the implementation.
Is the cedi affecting business? Some people would say that our currency keeps dancing, and then it's difficult for you to make predictions and all that. To what extent has this affected those in the merchandising sector?
If you deal with maybe a foreign company here locally, it wouldn't affect you too much. But when you do the imports, that's when I would say it affects you, because if you deal with maybe a foreign company here, we have the retail prices they offer to us, which is the basis for us to determine our prices. So we wouldn't lose too much because we deal with the local currency here. But when it comes to importation, that's when I would say we'll have a challenge with the cedi.
Let's do some comparison. You are an international woman, and you've made a lot of stopover in other countries. How would you assess the way they do business there together with that of Ghana?
Okay, I'll just say in terms of maybe traveling or the travel experience, what I'll say is customer service is key. When I say it's key, they focus on what you're going to use the product for, how long it's going to serve you, and what's next.
Okay.
That's what I've experienced. But here, what we focus on is I've sold the product to you. Maybe in a week time, if I don't hear from you, okay, it's working. I'll hear from you maybe another time.
Okay.
So that continuity is one aspect. And secondly is technology. Out there, technology is one key factor they don't joke with.
Okay.
Anything they offer to you, there's a form where maybe you fill, where they keep tracking. Periodically, they might send emails.
Okay.
Periodically, they might check up on you. So for instance, I dealt with a company in the United States, and I felt, okay, I'm done with this product. Maybe that's the end. But they keep checking up on me. Though I'm not in the States, they keep finding out, when are you coming back? If you come back, this is the offer we are also going to give you. Maybe we are giving you this percentage as discount. You know, so there's that relationship I'm going to have. And they also have these referrals.
Okay.
Maybe if this product they are offering to you is not going to help, maybe they have ABC, they can also offer to you. So there's that joy in quotes, I'll say, working with them. So maybe if the product A, I don't need anymore, they are offering other substitutes. If just in case I'll be interested in, they will offer to me. So it's not like maybe I've bought a bottle of water I'm done with. Maybe they'll say, okay, we have this juice which tastes like water. Would you like this? So there's that relationship, I'll say, they have. Whereby here, I believe some of the companies have started. Maybe periodically they send newsletters for you to also liaise with them. So I'll say it's a learning process. We are picking up, and gradually we'll get there, because I believe most of the models we are using now, we picked up from maybe the international
So you think
platforms.
customer service in this particular sector is key in the business?
Yes.
And we are now gradually imbibing this into our business.
Yes. That's what I would say. And I believe, I just wish there will be a medium whereby people will have proper training on customer service, even in our basic schools and also in our tertiary institutions. Because when we go, we learn about entrepreneurship and all that. But one key area, I believe, which should be inculcated in our curriculum is customer service. Yeah.
So indeed, it's key. Customer service is the only way you can sustain the growth of your business. And most businesses are taking this for granted. And we've seen some businesses rendering some services, and they make it look as if they are offering the customer. It's more or less like we're doing you a favor, but that's not supposed to be the case. We are supposed to hold, because the customer is key. And there's the saying that customers are always right, irrespective of the circumstances that you find yourself. If you really want your business to grow, then you have to treat your customer well. We'll take a very short commercial break. When we come back, we will be talking more on CEO's Chair. You're welcome back from that break. You're watching CEO's Chair, and you're watching it on BTA and GNTV UK. It's time for us to also talk about what exactly she's into, and then get to understand or appreciate some of the things that she's done in the past, together with the people that she's also helping. It's quite important. And you remember that this program, the core mandate is to inspire young people to be able to do things that I keep saying that scares you the most, because sometimes we do not have enough, or we are not motivated enough to be able to take that bold step. I believe that after today's interaction, you will be able to take that bold step. Tell me, you're doing great. Your profile is quite huge, and sometimes it's quite difficult. I'm sure people are always struggling. How do I address Joyce? Should I see the Chief Executive Officer of Posky? Do I go by the Managing Director of Dorotheen Enterprise? Do I have to use the JCI? Quite a number of them.
Yeah.
If you're to describe yourself in, let's say, a sentence, how would you describe yourself?
I would say Joyce is a startup advisor, who is passionate about entrepreneurship, not just people starting their business, but getting all the resources they have to make profit. And when I say make profit, as you make profit, you impact in the society. So basically, I'll say I'm a startup advisor who is so passionate about people getting all their resources together and moving.
Yeah. I love the part that you believe in advising young people to start up something. And even though the bottom line, for most of them, the bottom line is profit. But what's also important is for you to be able to sustain your business. In that sense, how would you describe entrepreneurship in Ghana?
So currently, what I would say entrepreneurship in Ghana is having all the resources available, making sure that you've got your business registered, making sure that you understand and are passionate about what you want to do exactly, and getting something out of it, which could be profits or impact.
If you take a look at the Ghanaian environment where we all operate from, would you say that we have that conduciveness in terms of having the conducive environment for especially entrepreneurs to operate? We've seen high unemployment rate. We've seen the number of graduates who come out of school, and most of these individuals want to go in for white-collar jobs. But the trend is changing. Most of them would equally want to set up their own businesses because they've seen how frustrating it could be to get these white-collar jobs. Do you think we have that conducive environment to encourage young entrepreneurs or young people to go into entrepreneurship?
I believe so. The fact that I was able to survive, I believe everyone can. Most of us are living with misconceptions because some say it's difficult, some say it's challenging. But I believe everyone always have to take that bold step to get every dream achieved. Because if we're about to say that everyone says this area is difficult, then I believe we won't have anyone standing up to even rule this nation. So what I would just say is the environment is there. People are making it. So you are next to also start.
So it's just the mindset. You believe it's the mindset.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with the environment. They find themselves.
I believe there are challenges, but that's why we also stand up to be entrepreneurs. So for instance, we have doctors, we have disease, and people are saying disease are killing us. Does it mean that there will be no solution? Then I believe no one will even go to the medical school. But because people believe that there is always a solution, people learn and take up and people learn and pick up all the skills necessary to bring out that solution to that disease per se. So let's say the environment we find ourselves in, we found maybe loopholes somewhere. Who is that one person to stand up to say, I am going to bring a solution to that situation? So I believe that encourages one to stand up to say, I'm a young entrepreneur.
So entrepreneurs are doctors in their own area because you identify challenges and then you find solutions to these ones. I'm sure people are wondering, so what's her background? What's she talking about? What's giving her that confidence to be able to talk about all this? Tell us how you started. And as the Chief Executive Officer of Posky Plus Stationery and Supplies, together with Dorothy and all that, we'd want to understand where you're coming from. How was it like during the early stage? How did you actually started this particular business?
So I have this box here. And I mean, when you're in school, we all believe that let me keep my money somewhere. So we have something called a susu box. So let's say this is a susu box. So I said to myself, okay, when I put money in a susu box, what am I going to get in return? I'm going to get the exact amount of money I put in. But what if I invest in a business? What am I going to make? And that is profit. So that is what got me started my Posky Plus business. So I started with sachet water. I started with a friend. We went on gradually. We had to part ways, unfortunately. And I decided to pick up the mantle and say, I'm going to continue, although it's difficult because I was combining with school. So I ran the water business for some time and went into canned drinks. It was a bit challenging because I was entering into a sector I had no idea of. So how I went into the canned drinks was I went to a supermarket where most of the students were patronizing these drinks. And I said, okay, let me get these same drinks people have to walk to get and get it to them at their point of call. So that's how I ventured into that. I didn't have any model per se, But what I would say was I was applying what I was learning in class to my business. Though it was a bit challenging because obviously I was making mistakes in some of the class exercises, but I didn't let that put me down. I decided to find what I was passionate in. I decided to find where my strength was, and that was selling at that time. Though I didn't have proper books to manage the business at that time, I was able to inculcate what I was learning in school into the business. So let me say, first of all, is bookkeeping, making sure I keep all my receipts, having my mini stock card whereby I keep stock of all what I was selling. So that's how I started. After school, obviously, I couldn't continue with the water business, so I ventured into stationery. So as you can see here, we have a whole line of products. So from stationaries, I went into home appliances, I went into electronics, I went into groceries, I went into baby products. And it wasn't easy at the get-go. And let me share one secret with you. I remember one day I heard of a fair going on, and I decided to take part in the fair. And that was a breakthrough point for me. People will say, oh, I don't have what it takes to get this. I don't have what it takes to, make this happen. So I said to myself, okay, the little money I have made, I'm going to register for this fair, and I'm going to set up my stand. So I remember I set up my stand, and I was with giant companies. I was the smallest company amongst them. And instead of me maybe putting up so many products, I had just few products. So I put a very big banner there showcasing everything I dreamed to own. That means big fridges,
but practically you didn't have.
I didn't have any of them. It's always good to always have a vision as a business person. This is what I want to get myself into. And by the grace of God, the things I had displayed on my bill, on my banner, were the things people were selling around me at the stand. So I remember one company walked up to me and said, hi, what do you do? I said, oh, this is what I do. Where are you located? I gave them my location. At that time, I didn't have a shop. I was just outside Dorothy Enterprise. We have a space outside there. So that's where I had arranged my product. So they told me, okay, I would like to visit you because we see that though you don't have much, the way you have this driving force, we are ready to work with you. And I thought it was a joke. They said all these things you have as your stock is what we use as our display. So even if this is what you have, we are going to support you. And by the grace of God, then they told one of their managers, get her registered. We are going to supply her items. And they gave me a cut of 50,000 Ghana cedis. That's how much worth I could take up goods from that company. And that was the starting point.
That was a bold decision you made.
Yes. And someone will say, oh, I don't have what it takes, and maybe I'll get intimidated. No, I walked up to all the companies and introduced my small company to them. This is what I have. This is where I am going. So you are already there. Show me the way. So they said, okay, to show you the way, integrity is key. Make sure whatever we are going to give to you, you sell and bring us back our money. Number 2, learn. People always think that because I have products, that's all it takes. But it's always important to learn about the product. What are the functions of the product? If you talk about warranty, what does warranty mean? If the customer uses this product and maybe has a certain challenge, what is the first thing they have to do? Maybe you have closed from business. Do you have any solution for them after working hours? You know, sometimes we hear after sales hours and all that, but most of us, we don't even understand it. But it's something that I would say that we should always use these big companies as models for us to follow. That's what I did, and that's where I find myself now. If I hadn't taken that bold step, I'll say I'll still be where I am, because as at that time, I was believing maybe WhatsApp is okay, just using emailing is okay. But with that understanding they gave me, I realized it was necessary for me to have an office space. Most people will say, I have this online shop, it's okay, but that is not the solution. It's always important to have a location, no matter the platform you find yourself in. Because there will come a chance, or there will come a time where somebody wants to talk to you. Somebody wants to say, okay, this is where you are. I can trust you with this certain amount of money. Because some of my clients give me money to say that, okay, this is the amount of money I have. I'm going to get married in this period. So kindly keep this money for me. I'll come for this amount of goods at this particular point in time. But imagine if I was not located anywhere and they pay the money into my bank account. Where lies the relationship? And secondly, Ghana Revenue Authority always love to find you at a certain location, because they have to come and check your goods, they have to come and check your books and all that. So if you don't have any location, how do they work in this capacity? So I believe maybe policies are being formed for these online platforms in the near future. So that's why I initially advise that everyone should start thinking of plan B. What if a policy comes through for my online business?
That's a very interesting one, and I would want us to just backtrack a bit. And you told us about how you started from, well, where you started from, and I just want to understand, was it tertiary level, and what program were you reading at that time? Because it looks like you were able to make use of what you were taught in school. You were able to apply it on your business. At what level and what program were you studying?
Okay, so I actually started my business during my 3rd year in Ashesi University, and I was offering business administration. Yeah.
It's interesting. So 3rd year at the tertiary level, you were able to start up a business. And I'm sure it was quite challenging. At that time, what was your seed capital?
My seed capital was 1 cedi.
I got stuck. Because most people will be thinking, you want to start up a business. You started a business with 1 cedi.
Yeah.
And you were doing what? Just buying the sachet water,
at
selling?
That time, a bag of water was 30 pesos.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could buy 3 bags of water to start. And fortunately for me, I had resources available to me. I had my hostel room. I also had the fridge in school. So those were the resources I was using to start. And I would say I had my mini ice chairs whereby I just pack water inside and move from room to market my business. Yeah.
At that time, what did you get? Was it like any form of stigmatization from friends that really, Joyce, is that what you want to do? You're in school to study and you've decided to sell nothing but sachet water. Well, how was the response like from friends, from family members and all that?
Okay, so what I would say is, I think during one lecture, my lecturer, Mr. Kofi Bentel, mentioned something and that struck me.
Okay.
Making sure you look around your environment. What do you find? How, if it's a problem, how do you find solution to it? So I would say starting the water wasn't really a problem, but I realized that this is something that people are always getting, and it's something that I could afford, because in school some were dealing in laptops, some were dealing in pen drives, some were dealing in cars. But at that time, what I feel I could do easily was venturing into something that wouldn't take too much capital to start with. So that's why I ventured into the sachet water. Yes.
How did you then migrated from sachet water to canned drinks and then stationaries, and you've added a lot of businesses to your company? How could you walk us through that process?
Okay, I started with the sachet water for some time, and I realized that aside that, students were still yearning to get certain things outside the hostel, because it was the sachet water that was getting people out aside getting food. And periodically I realized people were really interested in getting canned drinks, people were really interested in getting pastries. So one day, as I said, I decided to work with a couple of friends to actually observe what they patronize, and I could really take some capital out of my water business to invest in. So that's how it started. With the food, I couldn't go close to it because I knew I couldn't cook to serve students in the hostel. But with something that is already out there in the market, I could easily get access to, and that was the canned drinks. So we had the canned drinks for some time, and I remember sometimes people would come to me, Joyce, don't you have anything in addition to the canned drinks that will help us? So I decided to also venture into pastries. So I started getting them fresh cakes in addition to the canned drinks. So that went on for a while. But unfortunately, I got overwhelmed with the money I was making and didn't pay particular attention to
studies?
Not just the studies, to how to preserve the cakes.
So it means that you had difficulties in managing, because pastries, for instance, you need to keep them fresh. And you were in school, and how were you able to manage that particular business? Because you keep adding on based on the request from students.
So I'll say initially when I started with 3 cakes, and it went on for a while, people were demanding, and instead of me paying close attention to what the needs of the people were. I was overwhelmed with the money I was making.
Okay.
So from 3, I moved to 5. Then I just went into 20. And you know, when people take a particular product for some time, for example, food, it gets to a point where they don't need it anymore. And that was the point where I realized I was collapsing my cake business. I went in for so much, and it got to a point where students were saying, okay, we've had enough of this. And I was like, so who eats this? And I remember at that time I had kept the cake for a week. So the taste wasn't as fresh as it was before. So I had to give it out. And that was the first time I started losing money in my business. So let me say that broke me down a little bit, because I said, okay, I've started failing. But I'll say by the grace of God, I didn't lose too much hope in that area. I decided to say, okay, fine, if this thing didn't work out, let me stick to the original plan. That's some challenges we entrepreneurs have. I remember when Ebola came to Africa or to the world, everyone was crying, there's Ebola, there's this issue. I said, okay, fine. What is the solution people are getting? They started talking about hand sanitizer. So I said, okay, fine. Instead of me wailing as an entrepreneur, maybe this is an outbreak, people are crying. What do I make out of this? I invested into hand sanitizers. So I went into that business. I remember when Doomsaw came, people were saying, oh, there's Doomsaw, we have this issue. I said, as an entrepreneur, what do? I went into rechargeable lamps and fans. So I'm bringing back to my business in school. This was a challenge I faced. I didn't say, okay, because I've lost this amount of money, I mean, I made a wrong investment. I didn't think about the consequences that had to come in with what I was investing in. I said, okay, let me pick up the little pieces I have and invest back in the business. So this is an advice to our viewers. If you are running a particular product, or you are running a particular business, and you realize maybe you are failing, maybe the goods are expired, you can choose, maybe looking at the expiry date, maybe if it's a month, you can decide to sell at half price instead of waiting for the goods to expire and dumping them. So you know, there are strategies you can use. So maybe the issue I had in school, or maybe the challenge I had in school, I didn't always make it maybe a challenge for me to wail on, but I decided to think of other strategies. I remember before I totally scrapped off my cake business, it was a week. So what I said is, come and buy canned drink and you get cake for free. So people were rushing. So when you come, I just said, this cake is a week old. It might not take, because it wasn't totally spoiled. And maybe the ones that I couldn't give out, I had to dispose. So there's always a strategy to it. So if someone comes and say, okay, buy this particular product at this price, you get this thing for free, there's always a way out. Though don't always stick to the fact that I'm losing, I'm not going to make it, this is failure. No, sometimes I even believe there's no failure in business. That's what I believe.
I love your fighting spirit because you seem to make sure that no opportunity, you don't miss any opportunity, and that's a very good one for entrepreneurs. But it's unfortunate that sometimes we easily give up, and we need to have such a fighting spirit. But tell us, this was one of the challenges you encountered. What would you say was the major one that you felt like, do I really want to become an entrepreneur at the time you actually, or maybe probably progress when you started off with the sachet water and then you started adding on? At what point did you feel like, is that really what I wanted to do, or I should just go and focus on my profession?
Truly, I haven't worked in any corporate environment before. I started working in Dorothy Enterprise in 2002, right after my secondary school education. And Dorothy Enterprise is a family business. So my mind drifting into maybe the corporate world hasn't happened, and I don't think it will ever happen. I believe I was a born entrepreneur. And I've been able to pass through the ranks of and having the basic understanding, or having the basic knowledge in what is buy and sell. Because I believe most people have the understanding of maybe an entrepreneur is someone who has this huge business, have this number of people, have these cars. No, there's always a starting point. And I believe my starting business in school gave me that basic understanding, gave me all the basic principles needed to get to where I am now. Entrepreneurship is not easy in quotes. But what matters most is you, because it always starts with you. most people are always looking for someone to make them entrepreneurs. But I believe entrepreneurship is when you yourself stand up to mention that word, I am. Because when somebody puts that word on you, it gives you too much pressure. Because some people are out there who are startups, and maybe they'll say they are not ready because the word has been placed on them. We see you as. But until you come to that realization of I am, it gives you that power to move.
Okay.
So I, for instance, knew I was. So I said I am going to be an entrepreneur. Though I had all the signs and symptoms of being an engineer. I always say this. I really wanted to venture into engineering. I wanted it to get to that area. But when I got to that point where I realized, no, it's something I am thinking about, but what is that dream I have? Then I would say that was my starting point. So maybe people have talent, people have the resources, people have maybe partners ready to get them in. But when they come, or when they have that realization of I have what it takes to be this person, I believe that is the starting point for that person.
So we'll go for a very short commercial break, and when we come back, we will be talking about how to start a business as an entrepreneur, and how to sustain the growth of your business. When we come back, that's exactly what I will be discussing with my guest on CEO's Chair for today. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that break. You're watching CEO's Share. The program is sponsored by GTP New Star, More Colors, More Design, and Jine Jacoma for this particular design. Thanks to our sponsors. We're still talking to Joyce, and I'm enjoying the conversation seriously because I'm learning a lot of things, and I believe you're equally learning a lot of best practices that would help you grow your business. Let's talk about starting a business and then growing it. In an environment like Ghana where unemployment rates seem to be very high, a lot of people are saying that it's quite difficult searching for a job. Why don't I start up my own business? Some people have brilliant ideas, but implementing it is a problem, as we even have problem implementing some of our policies. Implementing ideas mostly quite difficult for most of these young entrepreneurs. And the excuses that, or the major one that they mostly give is the fact that, well, we don't have the capital to start. And sometimes, from their perception, capital, they're referring that to, or equating capital to money. You are a very passionate entrepreneur, and you offer a lot of advice to young people. Is it really the case that capital should be the basic requirements that every entrepreneur, every individual who wants to start up a business need before going into that particular venture?
Okay. So first of all, what I'll start with is, what is business? What at all do I want to do? Is it something that requires space, office space? Is it something that requires me moving around? Is it something that requires partners? Most of us decide I want to start a business without even knowing what we are talking about. Unfortunately, the word business is even becoming a jargon, whereby people just use mere business. I'm doing business. What kind of business are you doing? So before anybody even starts or wants to take that even bold step to even venture into entrepreneurship or venture into business, they have to understand the environment. People take the first step and decide that, okay, this is not a place for me. Not that the place wasn't conducive, but they didn't even know where they were going. You should have that vision, that clarity. What do I want to do? Do I want to start a solo business? So for instance, if you want to start a solo business, what do you need to start solo? Do you have empty bottles? Do you have the ingredients needed? Do you even have the place you are even going to market your product? So back to your question, how do I start a business? First of all, you should have an idea. And I know most people will say, Ghanaians, we like using the word passionate, and it's the truth. If you don't love what you are venturing into, don't even start. Because obviously, love has things that pushes it away. So something that you love, obviously there's something that is going to counter your love. And that could be failure, that could be disappointment, that could be every other bad thing people are saying is in business. But truly, when you get that foot in there, you realize that what you termed as bad, what you term as a challenge, is actually that driving force that will move you to your next level. So when you have this idea, maybe I want to start and venture into maybe a stationary kind of business. I want to start selling A4 paper. Who am I even going to sell the A4 paper to? What is the price of A4?
Okay.
What is the margin I'm going to make? Who even uses A4? What is A4 used for? So if I don't even know the uses, I don't even know the price, then there's no need getting into it, because most of us believe that somebody says maybe this business is well, so let me get in. No, it's well for them in that line. But in your line, what is well for you? So I for instance, I starting the pure water, maybe canned drinks business, wasn't because maybe I didn't know what to do, but I realized that this is one area I can easily market. I can easily convince people to get, because water is life. So that's even the first point of call. Asking the why do you want to be thirsty? Because that can halt you moving on to steady. So why don't you get water to cool your thirst, to help you continue your learning? Maybe you are stressed. Why don't you take a canned drink just to cool off your tension? I mean, there's conversations that one could even have to even help one even decide, okay, let me just get a canned drink. Let me just get water, because it's going to quench my thirst. Because I would say that is the starting point. That was the passion I had. Let me help people get what they want, to help them continue what they are already doing. So that I would say is my starting point. Everybody has different reasons why they enter into a particular business. Some say, I want to help solve a particular need. So maybe you are in an environment where people always have to move their cars to get food to eat. What do? You decide to get maybe a delivery van whereby you have the food in there for them. So instead of them wasting time, maybe staying in traffic to get maybe a particular food they want, you get it to them at their timing. Maybe they might pay a small amount of fee to you and get what they want in their location. So people shouldn't just think that I want to do business, but what is your business going to serve? What is that purpose?
Okay.
Without the purpose, don't even venture into it.
So that's the basic requirement. You need to understand the purpose. You need to understand the environment that you are venturing into.
Yes.
At what point do you start thinking of the physical money that you need? Most people will refer to that as the capital, but capital can be in the form of assets. It can be in the form of cash. At what point do you really have to consider the money aspect of the business?
I always advise that as someone trying to venture into business, always get your research done before you invest in capital. That means maybe the goods, or maybe if you have certain amount of money, invest in a particular product, because now the trends are changing. Maybe if you think of, let me go and stock this amount of products in my warehouse, tomorrow you come, a new model has resurfaced. So now the trend is not as it was before. Currently, most people don't invest too much into stationaries as they did some time back, because right now, because of technology, things are done easier online. That's why, first of all, I said, do your research. Find out, make sure that every findings you get, you work with it. Then you decide to invest in maybe product A or product B. So for instance, maybe you are a startup, you want to venture into clothing. What do? Who are your targets? Are people now interested in getting plus sizes, or now people are paying particular attention to their weight? So now plus size market isn't as it was in the past. So would you like to liaise with maybe a particular customer, find out what their exact size is, and you get it to them, instead of maybe going for maybe a particular range of sizes whereby people might not even be interested in maybe that size, or maybe interested in that model or design you are getting. So research is one key factor. I didn't do my research, I would say. So there were certain mistakes I made in the past, which now I wouldn't make anymore. Now I have decided to rather stock things people actually need based on my research, instead of working with my assumptions. Because in business, assumptions never work. You always have to ask. That's why there are so many platforms whereby surveys are being conducted to even find out from people, what do you need? Why will you purchase this product? Why do you even want this product? So the whys, the what, the hows are all that you need to inculcate before you decide to invest in a particular product.
Is this lacking in current, let's say, young entrepreneurs? Do you see this lacking in terms of conducting research, ensuring that the proper due diligence is done before they venture into a business? Is this lacking in the current young entrepreneurs coming up?
Okay, I would say maybe those coming from the tertiary institutions will pay particular attention to this area because there's a course we do in school which is called market research. I'll say maybe if people haven't decided to learn on the job, that means pay particular attention to the area they are getting into, make sure they get all the adequate information, then I'll say they'll be lacking in that area.
I'm sure another question viewers would want to probably find out from you as a passionate entrepreneur is, we do start up businesses, and sometimes definitely there are times where you will hit the rock, and that's the most difficult moment for especially a startup business. You have been there before. You made mention of the fact that, well, you didn't conduct proper research, so there are certain mistakes you made which could have been avoided. How do we pick up?
I always love to advise every entrepreneur to always have someone they look up to in business. So maybe you are into beekeeping. Do you have any friend in that area of business? It's been said that every business has been done before, so I believe there are always models for you to emulate. So maybe if you're in a certain business and you've realized that you've hit the rocks, nothing stops you from talking to people. People have mentors, people have counselors. Sometimes even your supplier is the best person you have to talk to, because it's obvious that the path in which you are treading on, they have passed on that path before. They've seen all the mistakes you've made, and they've got solutions to that. I don't really advise entrepreneurs to stick in their corner. I know people have been mentioning that entrepreneurship is a lonely road, is a lonely environment, but I believe that it's not all that lonely, because we choose to see it that way. There are always people in there to support us. And even if you don't even find anyone to support you, we have online resources, we have YouTube, we have Google, you have all these resources available to you to get a solution. Sometimes maybe you can just type, or you can just talk to someone, or you can even put it up on social media. This is a challenge I'm facing. I promise you, in no time, someone is going to respond to you. One environment, entrepreneurship is one environment whereby I'll say it's a learning process. Money is just one factor. Education is the driving force in entrepreneurship, because if you fail to learn, someone is going to just push your business aside and take over. Right now we see that our traditional model of maybe advertising is collapsing. How many people choose to advertise on maybe a traditional system? Now everybody is trying to migrate onto the digital version. So what do you do as an entrepreneur? Do you say, okay, I'm going to stick with my traditional system? Even the traditional system are also found on our digital platforms. So there is no escape. There is no room to say that, okay, I didn't make it, I'm failing. I mean, if you get to that point where you feel you can't do anymore, you can venture into partnership. Someone has this idea, just tell the person, can you kindly partner in this area? If you have to even pay the person to be a partner, to give you this idea to revamp your business, just go ahead. I believe most businesses which have failed can resurrect. If whoever is leading this force decides to say, okay, this is my problem, share your problem. Somebody is out there with your solution. Partner and get your business.
But Ghanaians really ready for partnership, and I would also want you to tie this in together with the fact that most entrepreneurs do have the mindset that we don't have people to look up to as our mentors, because sometimes the Ghanaian perception where they don't also want to release enough information because they see it as, you are my competitor, because if I look up to you, it means that it's either you are also in the same line of business. Do we really have mentors, and are Ghanaians, our young entrepreneurs, willing to imbibe the idea of partnership?
Okay, so what I would say with mentorship is that now the awareness is being created. It's possible you're in Ghana, but you could have a mentor outside Ghana. We are not limited with location now. There are so many platforms whereby I'll say we have mentors available to assist. But how ready are you to have a mentor? Because every mentor wishes to have someone who is already prepared. Do you have all that it takes to be mentored? If no, make sure you have all that it takes. There are so many online platforms whereby you can study to get yourself prepared to be mentored. As I said, entrepreneurship is a learning environment. How best you get yourself all the opportunities is when you make sure you have all the resources available to help you move to your next level.
Okay.
I would say partnership needs better education now. Right now, it looks like we have so many sole proprietors. But I believe when we come together to form a consortium, to form a group, we would even make much more than we are making now. Because you realize that most of our foreign companies, when you go and say you're looking for that sole person, you find a group of people managing that. And that is what I would say have caused them to succeed. And we are rather relying on them. So imagine if 5 Ghanaians or 6 Ghanaians come together to say, okay, I have this idea, we have this idea, let us come together. We are going to make this work. A, B, C, D group of companies. I believe we are going to break barriers. We are going to break continents. We are going to make it because the resources are available. But because we've decided to disperse, we are all living on the small we are making. But if 5 startups decide to come together, have this group, register it, I have the understanding, right? Every percentage that comes to maybe profit sharing, everything, employ this amount of people, this number of people, we are going to make it. Because right now with these online platforms, if you go online and you see maybe you are looking for a shop dealing in maybe air conditioning, you could have like 20. But why don't we come together and import this air conditioning in our own brand name and sell it? We could even get things cheaper when we decide to form partnerships. But I believe it's the mindset and it's education that has to be relayed for people to have this understanding. Because most people believe that because I have to start a business, it's me and nobody else. And people believe that this idea I'm having, because God has given me this idea, nobody must know about it. It's a secret. But I believe with the trend going on, there will be no more secrets in business. Every secret will be laid out. Because what you are thinking about, somebody has thought about it and has put it out there on the internet, and people are reading. So what you thought was, okay, I'm going to package my thing this way. Mind you, go online, you realize that what you are thinking about is already out there on social media. So I believe we have to get that basic understanding of, this is what I have, Winifred. What do you think about it? Winifred will say, okay, this is a good idea. Let's do it together. And I believe that will be the starting point for partnerships here in Ghana.
All right, so it's been great having you on CEO's Chair, and I've been speaking to Joyce Boadi Okyere. She happens to be the Executive Officer of Posky Plus Stationery and Supplies, and also the Managing Director in charge of Dorothy Enterprise. We've been talking about a business, we've been talking about entrepreneurship. If you want to become an entrepreneur, one who would succeed, the first step is you. Your mindset is very, very important. You can make or unmake the growth of your business if you have a positive mindset, and if you see every challenge as an opportunity to also cash in. Remember, it's not really about the bottom line. It's about sustaining the growth of your business. Once again, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining us on the CEO's Chair. So that's all we have for you for today's edition of the CEO's Chair. My name is Winifred Ampia. Before I take leave of you, let me also acknowledge my sponsors. And we have GTP New Style for this particular fabric. We'd like to say thank you to GTP New Style. More colors, more designs. And also to Jine Jakoma for this wonderful design. You can locate Jine Jakoma at East Legon at Ghana. And that's all we have for you today. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Once again, my name is Winifred Ampia.